when they're coming out with something new and they're using their pro staff people to play with it, sometimes it doesn't have an owner's manual and they're relying on us to kind of figure things out. And so it's kind of interesting. This last year they came out with Panoptix Live Scope. So there's two versions of Panoptix, and I'm going to talk about both of them today. And I'm going to talk about how I use regular Panoptix for finding tuna. In the last 5 years, I've trolled for tuna maybe twice. So I'm going to tell you how I do it. And it might work for some of you, it may not. It's interesting. So, get my remote to work. What is it? Well, first off, we had traditional sonar at 500 and 200 kilohertz. And then along comes side view, and then along comes Chirp Sonar. And now we have real-time live sonar. It's real-time. We started out with traditional dual frequency 15200, and some of you use dual frequency, some of you just use one. And then that kind of progressed. And Chirp Sonar came along, and Chirp Sonar is sending a sweep of frequencies, and when they all come back, it condenses them into a high definition picture. Okay? Traditionally, Chirp Sonar is about 30 kilohertz up to about 240 kilohertz. For us out here with most of the things we're fishing for, medium chirp or low chirp is what you're going to want to put on your boat. Most things we fish for, medium chirp. If you only have one option, you want medium chirp. Okay, it runs from about 70 or 80 kilohertz up to about 100 and maybe 130, 140, maybe a little higher than that. Tuna show up best at 88 kilohertz. Salmon show up best right slightly above that. So if you're bottom fishing, you're probably going to want to be on the upper end of that. This is a Chirp Sonar picture. I don't know if you can see it. This is 77 kilohertz. This is 200 kilohertz. You got a little bit more definition with the 77. So, and you have an amazing amount of transducers you can use. I have through-hole tilted transducers. You can get them where they go on the back. You can get them where they come down and have to have a fairing block. It really depends on what you have for a boat and how you want to mount a transducer on it. The other thing that comes into play is how the water comes off your boat. That does make a big difference on the quality of the picture you're going to get. And now we come along with Panoptix, regular Panoptix. It's a multi-beam phased array sending out a lot of signals and bringing them back, scrunching them down into a high definition picture. Along with that, they have built-in stabilizer that keeps that picture a little bit better. Remember, we're talking about live picture. So when you have a boat that's rocking, you've got to stabilize that picture if you want to try to read it. So frequency 417 kilohertz. It'll go about 300 feet out, 300 feet down. In salt water, that's about 180 feet out and about 180 feet down. Right now we're talking about regular Panoptix. Determine how you're going to fish. That'll determine the transducer as well. This is a transom mounted transducer. Same thing here. Transom mounted, but it's looking forward. And if some guys will put it on, you can get it where it'll go on a trolling motor. I'm actually putting it on my sled as well. But I'm putting it on the back where I can turn it around and I can look behind me. Okay, that's one of the things that the guys with the trolling motors, one of their advantages is they can turn that thing around and they can look around. Okay, so I'm putting it on my sled and I'm having them mounted just on a pole so that way I can turn it around and look backwards. So, if you're downrigger fishing, or if you're fishing where things are trolling behind you and you want to look back and see if fish are coming up into your pattern or coming up to one of your lures, you can see that. This is a downward shot of regular Panoptix, okay? Over here you got a side window. You can either have that or you can make it go away. The biggest difference between this and regular sonar is you're live from this side to this side, okay? Traditional sonar, only the leading edge is the most current. Follow me? Okay. Now with this is all live. You can see it. You can tilt it. You can tilt it forward, you can tilt it back, about 20 degrees. Right here, it's down your ball with the bait behind it. And there's, okay. I'll bring that back up there, you can see that. I was talking about, if you can see behind you, downrigger ball, you can see the bait here. You'll be able to see if a fish comes on that, maybe he doesn't take it. Well, maybe you need to change the bait, change the lure. Okay. This is where the boat's at right here. This is a grid, 10, 20, 30, and then your depth, 5, 10, 15, 20. It's reading 52 feet. It's 40 on this side of the boat, and it's reading out to 52 feet on this side of the boat. Okay. Benefits, you can see the bait. You can see if your lure's working, the reaction to the bait or the lure. And then it'll help you determine, maybe I need to switch baits, maybe the bait's bad, or maybe I need a different lure. So, when I'm tuna fishing with Panoptix, I run offshore, I've got my navigation screen on, I may have radar on. I get out to the tuna grounds, and when I get to the area where I think I want to stop, you know, maybe there's been reports, maybe I've looked at Tavern or some internet service the night before, picked a spot that I think I want to go to start. I get out to that spot, I pull the throttles back, I switch my screens to a fishing setup that I have combinations. One screen's on Panoptix, the other one's on fishing chart and traditional sonar split. I'll take my traditional sonar, set it to 0 to about 100 feet. I'll take my Panoptix, set it 0 to about 100 feet. For the most part, I'm only going to fish to about 100 feet. So I only want to see that top layer of 100. If you have your traditional sonar on auto run and you get out there and start fishing, it's trying to look. If you're in 4,000 feet of water, it's trying to look 4,000 feet. So set it up on, put it on manual, set it up to about however deep you're willing to fish, and you'll get a lot better picture. So now set up on my combo. I've got Panoptix on the left, and I'm at the spot where I think I want to start fishing. Traditionally in the past, I would have put troll gear out. But instead, I'll have Weddy, and if Megan's with us, Weddy and Megan, I'll have them drop iron. I can see the iron fluttering going down, okay? And I can also see a reaction. If there's fish there, they will, even if they don't take it, they'll still react to it. Tells me I found the fish. You know, with tuna fishing, one of the biggest parts of tuna fishing is finding the tuna. Now that we've found them, it's a matter of either getting them going on iron or, you know, whatever we're going to use to catch them. And a lot of times in the late summer, when the water warms up and they move down into that thermocline, if you don't have some method to go down and get them, or better yet, if you can now see them down there and know that they're actually there, it's reassuring to know that you're in the right spot. So now it's more of, how do I catch them? This picture here shows you can put a grid on this. It'll help you as far as determine where that fish is at under the boat. And like I said, you can have this window here if you want, or you can just make this live all across. And right now we're looking in a Panoptix straight down, under the boat. We're not looking forward. Okay? Here's a jig going down. A little bit different screen. You can change the color of your screen. Okay? Jig's coming down. It's just going to come in over here. You can see it. Bing! Hooked up. And this is kind of what it looks like. It's moving all the time. You'll notice on this screen, I don't have the grid. You can put the grid on, you can take the grid off, you can change the background. It was blue on the previous picture, this one's clear. There's a number of different colors of the backgrounds. It's whatever you would prefer to have for a background. I've seen videos of bass fishermen using Panoptix, looking down at the screen, sitting on their boat. They can see the fish is over here. They don't even look over there. They just cast, looking at the screen, cast over there, let the lure sink. They can see the lure going down on their screen, and then they start working it, and they can see it hook up on the fish without ever looking over there where it's at. So it's interesting. Water, saltwater guys. You know, I use it. You use it around structure, to see bait fish, be good for bottom fishing. Here's a picture of Panoptix forward. The boat's here. You got the grid on. You're in 12 feet of water, but obviously it's going to get a little bit deeper the farther out you go. You can set how far you're looking. Remember, it'll look 300 feet in fresh water, about 180 in salt. So you can set how far you want to look out. There you go. The screen's split. Looking down up here, looking out forward here. See this fish right here coming across? Watch the jig come down here in a second. Here it comes. See the jig coming down? This fish is going to turn on this jig. There, see, turned. And he took it. Okay, so you have forward looking here. Boats right here, back a little bit, and then however far they're sending out there. Same thing up here, looking down. Got a PS30 transducer, GLS 10, looking forward. And you can use it for looking forward, and you can color code different depths and different things you're seeing out there. That was 4 or 5 years ago, and I've had it, and it is effective. Along comes Panoptix LiveScope, and Garmin won all kinds of awards last summer at ICAST for this thing. But LiveScope, we were talking about regular Panoptix being 417 kilohertz. LiveScope is 530 kilohertz up to 1100. A lot higher frequency. And it only looks 200 feet out, 200 feet down. In salt water, you're probably 120 feet out, 120 down effectively. So, a little bit different beam. It'll shoot 135 degrees out and down and around and back. Okay. It also has a stabilizer to try to stabilize the picture so you can actually see it. It's shooting. If you're shooting forward, it's shooting about 20 degrees in there, 130, 135. That's why in that one previous picture we could see a little bit behind us, because it actually is showing a little bit behind you. Okay? A little bit different. A lot more resolution. You can see trees. You can put the grid on. You can put information up here. This information up here, you can put it. That's on any sonar or chart plotter screen if you want to put that up there. So it doesn't matter what you put it. In this case, it's got the longitude, latitude, the depth, the heading, and you can pause it if you want. And but you can see the bottom here, and there's the boat looking forward and slightly back, about 35 feet of water. It says 87 up there. It's looking 87 feet out forward. Okay? It's only looking about 35 feet down. There's no sound with this video, but actually there is. Probably can't hear it. But there's a transducer that actually mounts on a pole or anything you want to put down. It's a little bit different. And depending on the transducer, depending on where you're going to put it on your boat, really depends on which transducer you're going to use. They have a number of them. Bob's back here brought a Panoptix system, and they've got one back there. They're $14.99. They'll work with any most of the newer Garmin units, the 7600s, the 8600s, the 8200s. They'll work with some of the Echo Map units. You have to have a Garmin unit to run them. So, I've got a video here at the end that they're up in, I think, Lake of the Woods fishing, a father and a son. You won't be able to hear them, but they're dropping a jig down here. You can see the fish moving around it. You'll see them catch one here in a minute. This fish swims back and forth along here. So they're looking, this is the downward view. They're not looking forward, they're looking straight down. He's talking about where they're mounting the transducer on the back and how far out it's going to look and what angle it's going to look. And he shows back on the back where he's talking about all this, mounting this. See this blue pole right here? That's actually where he's got it. You can see the Garmin label on part of that when they net the fish. He's talking about the fact it's going to shoot forward 135 degrees and about a 20-degree. Anybody know what an umbrella rig is? Well, he's using an umbrella rig, and you can see the swivel up here. Nope. Pretty nice big fish there. Get on that. They have a couple of YouTubes, and they're probably 30, 40 minutes long, some of them. He videos quite a bit of them using Panoptix live scope catching fish. And him and his dad get pretty excited at times. It's kind of, they're entertaining to watch. But all right, that's the end of that. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'm confused about the transducer on there.
Yeah.
Can you use it underway?
No. The question is, does it have to be where you can turn it? On my big boat, they've mounted a through-hole transducer, and it's mounted in there. And it's very big. It's only about that long and sticks out that far. And it's about that wide. Okay? My regular Panoptix is over on the other side, and that transducer is about that long, sticks down about that far, and then is probably about that wide. That one has a fairing block with it. That thing slows my boat down 3 knots. It's big. That's regular Panoptix. Panoptix live scope is the small guy.
Okay, and can you practically mount it on your transom kickers and all that?
Yeah. If you can, the question is, can you mount it on the back with your kicker motor and that? Yeah, but you want to be in an area where you don't get an awful lot of turbulence, especially if you're going to shoot it back. Okay? If you're going to shoot it back, you probably should be maybe on the other side of the boat in the back, away from the turbulence from the kicker or the big motor.
And the tilt you were talking about, that's an electronic tilt?
Oh, there's a couple of different things you can do with it. Internally, just go into settings, you can tilt it 20 degrees forward or 20 degrees aft. Okay, that's in the unit. On mine, in my through hole, I cannot turn that mechanically. If you mount it on the back, using a different transducer, a slightly different mount, you actually can ratchet it, and you can tip it. You'd have to have the boat out of the water to do it, or reach over and do it. But yeah, or if you put it on a pipe or a electric trolling motor where you can bring it up out of the water, yeah, you can ratchet. It's made to ratchet the ones that are mounted on trolling motors, electric trolling motors. So, but yeah, there's a lot of different transducers, and that's what I said. It really depends on the application, how you want to use it. And like I said, on my big boat, it's hard through the hole. I was going to have the boat down here for you guys to climb on and kind of take a look at, but I have low chirp and medium chirp. And then I've got Panoptix and Panoptix live scope they just put on, and I'm getting a little bit of interference, we think, from my chirp transducer, which is right in front of it. It's flush to the hull, but we think we're still getting a little bit of interference. We may have to move my live scope transducer. There's a tree out there about 10 feet that isn't there, that just looks like a tree. So we'll probably have to move that thing. But anybody have any questions? No questions? All right, go over here.
Why does the range go down in salt water versus fresh water?
Density of the salt water.
Does turbidity affect the range?
Turbidity will affect it a little bit, not much. I mean, if it's really dirty, then you're going to get a lot of debris that'll start showing up.
Does the picture adjust the range automatically, or just get no?
It's not going to adjust automatically. You're just not going to be able to see things quite as well out to those longer distances. They just won't show up very well. Any other questions? All right. I may come back on later for another seminar if he needs a filler. Eric, are you ready to go? Oh, you're next?
No, I just have a question.
Okay.
What are the price range on the units themselves?
The Panoptix Units, it's a black box and a transducer. They're $14.99.
Comes with the transducer in the rear?
It comes with the transducer. You just have to figure out which transducer you want.
And that's with all the full scan?
Yeah, it'll be what you need to work it with your Garmin unit. So yeah.
Oh, I got you. So
Yeah.
get the Garmin head, if I have a Garmin head.
You have to have a Garmin head, yeah, and like I said, most of the newer units, as well as some of the Echo Map units, will run them. The Map SV Pluses will run them. So Bob's brought some in. They carry them. They've got a couple units back there as well, the head unit too. So I don't know if they got them turned on or not, but yeah.
Sounds good.
So, any other questions?
You say you don't troll to find the fish. When you're going out, are you using the Panoptix to find the schools?
Yeah. The question was, if I'm not trolling to find fish, am I using Panoptix to find the school? Yes. And that's what's allowed me not to have to troll, is if I get out to a spot, pull the throttles back, turn my combo screens on to my fishing combos that I've set, look down, they drop iron. If they get a reaction to the iron, then we know we found the fish. If they don't get a reaction to the iron, then I'll leapfrog, I'll move a mile or two, and we'll just do it all over again. But better than 70% of the time, we find them on the first stop. So we haven't had to move very often. So works really well late in the season when they move into the thermocline, when it's hard to find them on the surface. So, yeah. And you can see them. We've had days where it made a huge difference. We had days out there where we had boats around us. We got the bite going, called the other boats in. They came in, they threw some chum. Fishing on the surface, they weren't working iron. We were using iron and bringing them up. and everybody would hook a fish or two, and then pretty soon we'd lose our bite because the boats were so close to us, and we'd lose our bite, they'd go down. And after a while, the other boats, they just drifted off. We ran back up to where we got them going to begin with. Stopped right there. Looked on Panoptix, dropped iron. Yep, they're still up here. So we did another drift, fishing them by ourselves. And it was a day when it was really tough fishing. I think we had like 23 or 24 fish. Next closest boat to us had 6. It was all because of Panoptix. Because they dropped the iron down, I'd stand there by the monitor and let in Megan or drop an iron. I'd stop, right there. Jig it a couple times, boom, hooked up. And so, yeah. The tuna typically are moving pretty fast versus the sharks are not. And on regular Panoptix, no, you can't really see much of a difference there. This will be the first season for live scope, so it's going to be interesting to see since it's, I've seen videos of them showing, you can actually see the species on live scope a lot of times when things are fairly shallow. You can see tarpon swimming and actually see that it's a tarpon. So it's going to be interesting to see what a tuna looks like on theirs, considering they don't just hover. So they're all moving pretty good. So I doubt if you're going to be able to actually see a whole tuna, considering how fast they move. So, but it's going to be interesting. So, I fish buoy 10 a lot. I fish salmon in the salt offshore quite a bit as well. It's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. So, any other questions? All right, no other questions? All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Del. So Del's going to be, hey. He's also going to be doing a talking with Fish Hunt Northwest later too. So while we're eating dinner, they're going to be doing a live streaming broadcast. So there'll be some more information. We might bring Del back. To maybe talk about some more specific tuna strategies. Because I think we have a lot to talk about here. So we're. Do a little fishing rod?
Let's get started. That's why we're all here, for Christ's sake.
Is that a Lamaglass tuna dog?
Tuna dog, the man that just spoke.
Yep.
Right here. Get your Apple tickets out.
All right. Oh, we got my lovely wife Erin over there. I wouldn't trust her. Somebody else.
The young lady. We need a little kid out there somewhere.
We need an ankle biter. Are there any ankle biters in the room? No.
Read it.
Oh, here we go. So, where are we at on these? We just need to read the last 3.
3 digits.
Let's see. 1887 for a Lamaglass Tuna Dog Series spin.
Hey!
Nice work. Nice work.
There you go.
Yeah, put it in my pocket. Okay, anybody like to golf?
Golfers. Anybody golf? Or we all fish. Oh, there's one golfer out there. Hopefully you got it.
We don't either. But Peninsula, of course, donated 9 holes with a cart and $50 gift to their Cove restaurant.
Which is
pretty
really
nice.
good. It's delicious.
Yeah, they have very good. 21.
21-20. 21. Oh, right there.
21-20. All right. Here you go. No, thank you very much. So one of our sponsors is Allstate Financial, and it's Kevin. Wait, raise your hand, Kevin. So Kevin works for Allstate Financial. He's got his own office. And if you come in and just at least sit down and talk to him a little, I'm going to give you 2 tickets to go see Court Carpenter, who's a country western guy out of Cowlitz County. Yep. There's black bears, dollar beers, all kinds of good stuff. So if you need, find Kevin and he will get you hooked up. What do we got?
Ice.
Oh yeah. Who needs a load of ice? It's $100 right here.
Everybody needs ice. You going?
Huh?
It's $100.
$100. If you don't got it and you need it,
Here we go.
1940. 1942.
Lots of ice. 4-2.
Hey, you snooze, you lose.
Hey, there we go.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
And you know somebody with a boat. There you go. You can have the ticket.
Be their best friend to show up for free ice. That's awesome.
Okay, John Boyer, Eat Me Lures.
Good stuff.
Yeah, he builds these custom lures for Mexico and other fishing, and proven, tournament winning.
If I were you, I'd troll that one right there.
Yeah. Cedar plugs. Cedar plugs. Yeah, they work everywhere.
Seem to.
2215. Nice lure packet from Eat Me Lures.
2215. Hey, there he is.
Hey.
Allstate guy.
There's Kevin. We knew we'd get it. Hey, you guys should pay attention a little bit here.
Well done, sir. Well done. And we'll do one more ice, and we'll.
Another load of ice. Anybody needs some ice? We get more, lots and lots of ice. It's all right. We're not worried about that. 2121. It seems familiar. Do we just have a 2120? 2121. Anybody? Anybody going?
$100 worth. 2121. Anybody?
Anybody? Anybody? 2120. 2121.
Roll back in the bucket.
How about 2052, 2052. For the ice from Ilwaco Landing and Mike Shirley. Anybody? All right. 1955. 1955.
I'm going to fix this. Who both that needs ice?
Oh, wait. Here. Hey, honey. Okay, so now we're going to go with Paul Riddell with Nanus. And he's going to tell you about how to find fish on the computer so that you don't chasing bad water. So this is good information. So everybody, here's Paul.
Reminder, stay inside the boundaries.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Thank you, Chad. Just if you got a red solo cup and you're drinking beer, do not leave the property, please. Also, we have free taxi rides to anybody that has been drinking beer and needs a ride on the peninsula. We're not taking you to Portland, sorry. But by all means, if you need a ride, let somebody with one of these know, and we will get you to where you need to be. Okay? Are we good?
All right, folks.
Oh, we got lots more to go.
Okay, guys. Rod.
You're good. Yeah, so depending on how long he takes, maybe kind of do a live bait, quick iron, 20 minutes or something. Just give
do one on how iron is changing.
and maybe touch on the live bait side of it for a little bit. We'll see where we're at on time, but
I'll save it for you.
I think some people want to hear that. So.
All right.
You were getting pretty good feedback on your Panoptix stuff, so that was
good.
I think people are wanting to hear it.
Yeah, it's so different, dude. I didn't realize the last few years how much we were dependent on it, and then it's like, tell people about that. Why we're not trolling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can do that, yeah.
Well, we'll see where we're at, but.
So NANUS was part of the Integrated Ocean Observing System, which is a national program. I guess first I have to say that my name's Paul Riddell, and I'm an oceanographer from the University of Washington. My background is fisheries.
Go Cougs!
I don't know if I like that too much. But
Here's the mic.
I'm here today to
turn that on off.
which is the North when getting into sort of a system which houses all so most of that data is being provided live right now on our website. On the left-hand side, you've got a number of controls. Layers is what we have just. Layers button opens up and helps show us all the different things that we could turn on and visualize. So we could be looking at current speed, salinity, water temperature, air temperature, chlorophyll speeds. Now this is also showing how you could turn on and off all those platforms. But going to the Tuna Fishers app, the Tuna Fishers app, instead of bringing in all the ocean data, actually only brings in certain data that folks agreed were the most important data. Same goes for CCAS. The CCAS was created with some crabbers in mind. What we've done is we've gone onto Nanus, we've gone to Nanus visualization system, and now we've clicked on the Tuna Fishers app. This Tuna Fishers app would open up, and you'll notice that you'll notice down here we have a timeline. So I created this on the 20th of June, just a few days ago. If I open up right now, it'd be bringing up ocean data from a few minutes ago. So you'd be and this is what the arrows represent here are current speeds, and the color is a representation of water temperature. So those, when you bring up this particular site, it actually brings this map up immediately because those were identified as the most important features.
Yeah, question on this. When I look at this in the winter, it's just a solid field of blue.
Yes, so he asked, when I look at this in the winter, it's a solid field of blue. That's because the scale that's important to tuna fishing is actually presented up. And when you're in the middle of winter, it's so cold, it's below the presented up all blue. We are just starting to get. It's not the greatest, but it does show how you could decide where you could plot your course to follow along the edges of a temperature line. So in this case, we've highlighted water temperature and currents. Now I want to show you that there's different, this information can be provided to you in different units, and so you can change the units around for lat and longitude and things that you prefer. Up in the left corner again, but at the top, settings. You can go inside the settings, choices of your own, so you can have that data in the format that you prefer. I know from experience that I see latitude and longitude represented about 10 different ways, so I know a lot of people like to have their information presented differently. So we talked about water temperature and current speed. In this, looking at something called picnic line, which just translate to density difference. and we're looking at thermocline. So we've highlighted 2 other data selections that will help you identify where you're having different currents converge. Areas where you'll see higher productivity, greater chlorophyll, and more prey. Now this is another interpretation of water temperature. The reason this is different than that you saw, and I just want to highlight this, satellite water temperature, and what the will provide you with then is immediate water temperature been averaged over a certain period of time. This is what's going on right at this moment. The previous was actually a forecast. So you could have looked at water temperature and current speed going 3 days ahead, so you could plan your trip and identify where you think the best conditions are for fishing. You also have the opportunity to pick a chlorophyll icon and bring up chlorophyll maps. But what I wanted to highlight is on the NBS Tuna Fishers app, it opens up automatically to the map. But you can click on Overview. And the Overview provides information about albacore tuna. And it also provides you several links to important fisheries papers that have identified the most likely places where albacore tuna concentrate. I can tell you there's probably a lot more information out there, but those seem to be it does seem to be some pretty good information. So I mentioned you can calculate a route or plan a route. Again, up on the left-hand side, select New Route, and when you click on that, create a route. In this case, I created a route on the 19th of June, headed out of the Columbia River mouth, and then I ran the vessel along the outside of a temperature line. Just as an example. Now, what you could do with that, now this is not a navigation system, right? But you could download this as a CSV or a KML file and put it on your navigation system. If you're running a laptop on board or a tablet on board, you're fine. I do have to say, I'm sorry guys, there's not a phone version of the app. There may be in the future, and it's something that I'm pushing hard for because I find it much more useful for the Boaters app and for the Tuna Fishers app if you can actually have it on your phone. We'll see about that in the future. Oh, just pointing out that it's down here, you have an icon where you can download your route. Now, in order to create a route, you actually do have to log into the website. And you can see I got my initials up there because I'm actually logged in. So it says P. Riddell. But creating a login doesn't cost anything. Super easy. I'll talk about it more in just a second. So here I've clicked on the bathymetry layer for this application. This is dynamic scaling. So if I zoom in and zoom out, the same with all the data. If I zoom in and zoom out, I'll get way more information. When I zoom in, I get more and more data. This was the login that I was talking about. It's just over here. And the only reason you would do that is if you want to start creating routes. Otherwise, you don't have to log in. You can do whatever you want. But if you want to save your routes for a later time or download them, you'd use the login. I want to point out one more data point basically in the NBS Tuna Fishers app. We looked at the map and we looked at the overview, but there's another icon or button that's called plots. And this is actually pretty cool. Unfortunately, guys, it's mostly based on HF radar, high frequency radar, and the Washington coast lacks HF radar, which we're putting in right now. So hopefully this will actually change and better represent Washington, probably in about 6 months. Temperature change, chlorophyll change, the kind of thing where you might want to go and fish along the edges of that or near boundaries.
Yeah, so the forecast is beautiful. That is such an advantage. And I love it. And it works even if there's cloud cover, right?
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But sometimes it's 2 days behind, it's 2 days behind, it's not updating, right? You go on there.
Okay, so he was talking about how amazing the forecast system is.
Where
but also pointing out that sometimes it doesn't show the forecast going ahead. Times when different apps go down. And there are times when the models have failures too, and so they won't show data when it's not working properly. So there are times there's other times that I've found where I'm looking at the data and going, there's no data here, and I have to pay attention. I'll show you in a moment. There's a bar down on the bottom that has a timeline, and and it shows where data is present. There's times on that timeline when maybe the instrument went down, or if you're looking between forecasts and models and real time, if you're looking at real-time data, or if you're looking at a forecast into the future, you could find that there isn't a data point for that time. So if you're looking at a forecast 2 days ahead, and then you switch over to a different data point, you won't find real-time data for 2 days ahead. So the screen will be blank. All this stuff might be confusing, guys, and I want you to come over and talk to me, and we can play around with the website if you want to. So when we're finished here, please come and visit me, and you can poke at it and see if there's anything that you like. So beyond what I've shown you already related to current speed and water temperature, there are a few other bells and whistles on this app. And so I just wanted to show a couple of the images that come forward that include wave period, wave height, the direction, and wind speed and direction, all of which, as you guys know, is important for boater safety. But as I mentioned about timelines on these images, you'll notice there's a timeline right here. The blue represents where there actually is data. So if you clicked back here, you would have nothing on the screen. It'd show no data. So highlighting high-frequency radar, as high-frequency radar is what is used to measure current speed, which has been identified as one of the more important data points for tuna fishermen and for identifying where currents are coming together visually. So really quickly, I just wanted to mention the Seacast app. Mostly we were going to talk about the Tuna Fishers app. The Seacast app was created by Crabbers and has a couple other things that I just think are important to show. Here we have highlighted water temperature and NOAA tides, so you can click on the tides and get tide at that location. But I think what I really wanted to highlight the most is there's a point and click capacity. So if you're using your mouse, anywhere you point on that map, if you click on it, it'll bring up all the data points. And in this case, those data points are surface current, wind wave direction, combined wave height, surface temp, bottom temp, surface salinity and bottom salinity, the location of the thermocline, and sea surface height, which I can't tell you why sea surface height isn't too important to tuna fishermen, but maybe you guys can, because I've read that it is important and can help you identify where tuna are at. Hit me.
What about bar conditions?
Bar conditions are something that you won't find inside the Tuna Fishers app, but you will find on our Boaters app. And that's right here. So our Boaters app is a little bit more geared towards sport fishermen and recreational fishermen of all types, and just boaters of all types. Whereas, like I'd said before, the Tuna Fishers app and Seacast are really geared more towards people who are trying to catch fish. So last thing I wanted to show, up here in the corner, if you click more, we got the comment area. So comments, guys, if you try it out and you're having issues and say something. My card is going to be over here. If you don't like it, if there's things that you don't think it's useful, tell me about it. Let's figure out a way to make this thing more useful. So thank you guys from University of Washington. Like I said, this is massive amounts of ocean data at your fingertips, totally free. Weather forecasts, ocean forecasts, stuff that often people pay for. Some of the stuff could replace some of your other tools. It's just another tool in your toolbox. Thanks, folks. Any questions? Yeah. That's better. Well, you guys, I'll be over there drinking beer for a couple hours. So catch me in a couple hours and it'll be more fun.
Thank you, Paul. It's all good. It's quality stuff. So if you need more time, go visit him over here. And it saves you a lot of fuel, a lot of headache, figuring out where the fish are. Jerry Stevens, there he is. Where's our ticket, girl? Yes, yeah. Bar Pilot's will be up next. Maybe he's going to the bathroom, whatever. I forgot to tell you, there's two bathrooms inside in the hallway on the left. I think it's really, really busy. We have bathrooms upstairs, up in second floor as well. Jim John Trussell, we're doing a raffle. We're all worried about it.
Right there. Just the green one.
We can probably do a few extras too. We got
Ugly as these.
How's it going?
Well, good.
Are you the bar pilot?
I'm one of them.
Kurt Herring, Jerry Spees, nice to meet you.
Steve Ackerman.
Hey, how are you? Thanks, you guys really think of us.
so
Let's do this.
all right, Jerry, tell us what we got.
See more kick-ass John Boyer?
More eaters. John Boyer. John Boyer's here somewhere.
Where's John? John Boyer! Where's John Boyer?
He's really tall. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Eat Me Lures. 6-1. Yeah. 9061.
All right, well, I told everybody inside we're doing it.
Oh.
I forgot about that.
We have it out.
6163.
Oh, so it is a club member.
Yeah, it is.
Club member, your ticket inside your. Because Chad's is.
All right, next.
All right. 2256. For Eat Me Lures. 2256.
We really do want to give this away. All right.
Attitude.
There you are, sir.
Alright, we got a Garmin hat. Let's do a Garmin hat. What do you got? 2023. 2023. Get a free hat. Like that.
There you go. 2023.
2023. Oh, that's
Hey, there you go. Thank you. Oh, wait. Don't forget. There you go. Oh, good. Oh, those are good ones. I know they are. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, the Salt Hotel is down the street here. Been very good friends of ours. Been working a long time. 3 years ago, it was raining. And they let us have we moved it down there last minute. Great little hotel. Tom?
Hey,
Hold
on, sir. Should do a few more?
Yeah, let's get a couple more in here real quick. Yeah, grab some stuff. Hey, get some of that Workers Tavern, maybe. I like it when you dress me. I didn't want to make it too creepy, but. Grab a Tuna Club shirt too, or a hat or something.
I just picked the one.
So somebody donated a ironwood turtle from Hawaii. Was that you guys? Was it? Did you do this? Oh, okay. Well, if you like ironwood turtles, we're gonna give one away. I know. 2168. 2168 and a Tuna Club shirt. How about that? 2168. Is that John Trussell? Or Jim? John? Which what? Whose tickets are whose?
Yes, these are Jim's, these are mine.
Oh, Jim likes Ironwood. That's all right, I believe you.
Really into it.
This is John Trussell from Guild Mortgage that has spent all night cooking your meat. Say hi, John.
Hi.
So,
perfect opportunity for a Gorilla Glue commercial.
Yeah. Does anybody have any glue?
Oh, that's painful. Let's do it. Let's do a burger and a yucca.
Oh, it's one of each?
Yeah, and a shirt.
And a shirt. Okay, so the Workers Tavern over in Astoria, it's one of our favorite stops as club members.
Does everybody remember Mary Todd's by any chance? Mary Todd's out in
right on the main drag, right underneath the bridge.
Everybody?
You can shake 2 yuccas there, and then that's it. But you get a free one here. And a burger and a shirt. Great little bar.
Oh, sorry.
1914, 1914. Oh!
Well, but here's the deal: is you have to try this.
Yeah, you gotta put it on. Which leg do you want to put it on? All right, we'll do the same thing again.
Yep. Well, actually, here, let's do. Hold on.
Yeah. All right.
Now for all you petite people.
Yeah. For all the skinny,
you gotta like
skinny kids. 2280. 2280. Anybody? Oh, we got one.
There we go.
All right, you're not going to fit in that one either. Okay, so I failed to get their names.
It's okay.
Yeah. But Columbia River Bar Pilots stepped up and said they wanted to come down and be a part of this event. These guys do this for a living, so they're super smart, and hopefully they can keep us super experienced. I don't know about the smart part.
I was going to say that. You didn't have to.
But hey, let's give them some attention, and they got some valuable information to share with us, so you can introduce yourself.
My name's Kurt Nearing. With Columbia River Bar Pilots. I'm into my 50th year here. A little background before that, I was 4 years Navy, 30 years Commercial Marine, the last 25.
What's the challenge with microphones?
And this is the only organization left in the world that I know of that requires you to actively have sailed on a Deep Sea Masters license prior to are we all set here now? Prior to getting into the organization. There used to be several, there used to be everybody. Now it's just Columbia River Bar Pilots. And I'll pass it over to Steve for a minute.
Good afternoon, Steve Ackman, also with the Bar Pilots. I was, 20 years commercial marine, standing on dredges. So you see the dredges out here. I used to do those, a bunch of other ones. And I've been with the group now for about 5 years. I'm one of the newer members, so I'm 5 years into it. And we appreciate the opportunity to come down here and talk to you guys. We're good for questions and answers. Hold on, I guess we get fancy.
Does this thing
Okay.
Bar Pilot, Columbia River Bar Pilots.
Anyway, like I said, Kurt's got some information just about the basics. I've got just a couple slides. Might be some interesting pictures. Ask questions as we go, no problem. We know that a lot of you guys probably know as much about the bar as us. Some of you don't, so good questions, no bad questions. So we'll let Kurt start it off.
Okay, to begin with, everybody knows about the Columbia River Bar. Graveyard of the Pacific, the most dangerous stretch of navigable water in the world. Used to be one of the top 3, now it's been scientifically proven that is the most dangerous in the world. The reason is because of the outflow of the river, meeting the southwesters coming in, and the thing heaps up, and it can come up in a heartbeat. Most of the time we get fairly decent weather input, but last summer, I think it was last summer and summer before last, some of you guys will remember, July, all of a sudden it was 14 feet on that bar. and it came out of nowhere. A lot of pleasure boaters got hurt, a lot of people got injured. We work the bar until it gets to be about 20 feet on the bar. We work outside up to 30 feet. The reason is outside it can be well rounded, it's a lot easier to work. Inside, when that bar heaps up, the back side is like a cliff face, and everything just drops off the back. Ebb tide is the worst time to be working the bar in the wintertime. The reason is the big outflow hitting the southwesters. That does not mean that it can't come up on a flood tide either. But primarily you're looking at the ebb tide. Your crossings are safest on the flood tide. We close the bar to commercial fishing only. Closing the bar is the domain of the Coast Guard. But I don't know how many of you guys know where our website is, but it's worth going on. It's open to the public as far as weather, our click-ons for the buoys, all that stuff is on there that you can get on. You don't have to be a bar pilot to get into that part. And if you hear we've closed the bar, I would really recommend you guys don't go out. Just telling you. Just saying. We've lost over 35 pilots out here. The last one was 2006, January. We lost Kevin Murray. I was out that night. I was number 2 pilot behind him. I was 25 foot outside blowing 45 knots. We were using the boat instead of the helicopter because of the low ceiling. Kevin was transferring from the pilot boat from the ship to the pilot boat, missed the boat. And he was found 3 days later up by Grays Harbor. So it's dangerous. I guess that's my main point out here. As far as we go outside 5 to 10 miles, working the helicopter to join ships. We'll get off out there. So if you see us out there and we are working the helicopter, we cannot maneuver the ship at that point. We need to have the course and speed set so that the pilot can come in on the helicopter. We have the wind almost on the bow or on the stern as close as we can get it with minimum rolling for the helicopter. So if you guys try to cut across the bow all of a sudden, it can get dicey. If the pilot's out of the helicopter and setting down on the deck, somebody's going to get hurt. The captain of the ship will change course for you, or we could seriously injure a pilot. The other time that we have is when we're working the boat. Outbound, we work the boat between buoy 2 and the sea buoy. Inbound, sometimes we work it there primarily, but we'll also work it offshore. Again, we're setting up a lead for the pilot. With this one, we have the scene of the wind on one side or the other. The ship is rolling like this. Pilot going up and down, and it's got to move when the boat's edges peak and the ship's over. To grab that so that he doesn't get in between the boat and the ship. So again, maneuvering the ship at that point in time is really pretty dicey. Inbound, once we're in the channel, these ships are constrained by. We draw anywhere from 15 feet to 43 feet, depending on whether it's lowered or light. Our maneuverability is not great on these things, okay? Fully loaded ship doing 10 knots, it will take me 3 miles to stop on a big ship. If it's in ballast, which means it's light, usually when it's coming in, but sometimes going out, the bow is up so high, I can't see a mile ahead of the ship. So if you're in that mile, I'm not going to see it. So those are the things I want to caution you guys on. If you can go by all means, go astern. That's the safest place to cross. If you've got plenty of time, it's not a problem. Channel 13 is where we work. This is where we're going to try to call you guys, try to talk to you on. If you want to cross from one side or the other, or you're going to stay tight on the red line or tight on the green line, pick one call Channel 13. Inbound deep draft, outbound deep draft, we'll answer you. Or we'll try to get a hold of you. Once we ascertain how we're going to cast, it's just a walk in the park. Okay? As long as we know what you're doing, we don't care about running lights. We don't care if you guys have got work lights on deck. Because when you have those on, we can't see your running lights. So we don't know which direction you're going in. I don't know how many of you guys have AIS. That is exceptional to have. I will caution those that just have GPS in the fog. You don't know where we are, and we hopefully know where you are on radar, but not all the time. So if you're running GPS in the fog and you don't have an AIS, stay to the side of the channel. That's the safest place to go. Okay, inbound or out. Anybody got any questions so far?
Now, how do you want people to call you if we're out there?
Deep draft ship, inbound.
Or just deep draft?
If you know the name of the ship, call us by name. That's the best way to do it. We'll always answer up with the name of the ship. Same thing, and when you guys call us, give us the name of your boat. If you just say pleasure boat or tuna boat or charter boat, there's 56 of them out there. Okay, I do not know which one you are. Even if you're standing up and waving your hand, I probably will not see you. So I want to know that I'm talking to you and you and I are on the same page. That is the biggest thing to prevent accidents. You and I being on the exact same page. I know what you're going to do. You know what I'm going to do. The other thing is if you have an emergency, you lose your engine, whatever, you're in the middle of the channel, you are trying to cross, get on the horn and tell us. Okay? We can then do what we got to do to stay clear of you guys. Next question. There was somebody out here that... Yes, sir.
Yeah, you said it came up to 14 feet out of nowhere. Can you comment on the accuracy of the swell forecast? Because it looks like those are pretty good, right?
They are, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to get a sudden squall that's going to come in and blow out that they don't have on their radar. There's no weather pattern for the small squalls that you're going to see in summertime. And you get a really strong one, 30, 40 knots, and it will heat that up depending, especially if you're on a streaming ebb. Okay, right now we've got big ebb tides running out because of the snow melt up in the mountains. We're through most of the spring freshets, I think, by now.
Dams are letting out water.
Dams are still letting out water. That's the other thing. You can go online and chart the currents. That doesn't take into effect what's coming down the river.
Yeah, right.
Okay? So I have seen buoy 10 under the water flashing up through on a 10-knot outrun. Excuse me, and I've had it so strong, I haven't been able to bring a ship in. I've had to turn around and go back out, wait for the flood tide to bring it in. Okay. Yes, sir.
So is there any practical way to factor in the river flow versus the current tables?
If you go online and you look at like our website, or if you look at, what's the one I'm trying to think of?
I think the gentleman spoke a little earlier, the NANU system. We use a lot of their information too, and we use the National Weather Service. That's kind of how we set up weather stuff. We'll set up using that data. It's kind of day by day. You know, the dams may decide to open up and let out water. They may decide to hold water. It's pretty random, but he's got the most accurate data points to pick from. So if you can use his website, go there and play around with it, look through it, and see what the flow is. You can look at a lot of tidal information, and you can find out how high the river is at like Vancouver, what the river stage is there. Then look down at the one in Rainier and Longview, and then look down here in Astoria. You'll see how the water is coming down. You can see how high it is. When it starts to get up to 9, 10, 12 feet of water stage, the river's going to be running pretty good. Okay, add into that the snow melt, like Captain Aaron said, and then you know, it'll start to go. The tides make a huge difference as well. But we use a lot of information from there.
So do you go through that exercise when you want to water's high?
Yes, if it's going to affect us, it does. You know, right now, we know we have big tides. That affects how we drive the ship, but it's not going to be prohibitive to us. So we keep an eye on it, but it's not like there's 5 of us sitting around deciding whether or not we're going to run ships today or not. During the wintertime and during the early spring, late fall, yeah, there'll be 5 of us sitting in the office going, is it going to be safe or not? So
the tidal current, the current chart says it's going to be 4 knots at this point right now. How much can the river flow change the time or the speed of it?
At least by an hour. I brought in a ship couple of nights ago that I was supposed to be anchoring on the ebb tide. It's much easier to anchor into the current on these big ships. And as I came through Astoria, I couldn't stop. I turned the engine off, and I was an hour ahead of time, and I just kept moving up the river because the flood had come in really early. Same thing, the bigger the water outflow, the faster we'll overcome that flood tide. So if you've got a big high tide, it's going to turn fast and start running out faster. So give yourself, when you guys are looking at, I'm going to go out and go fishing today, don't say, well, it's going to be low tide, I'll catch the flood. Give yourself an hour or two on that, because it is nasty on the bar. There, I've got some slides here. Hold on, I'll pull it up.
Let me just say one quick thing. One other thing on that, and you asked about the change of the speeds. As I mentioned, I came in on a 10 knot one time and saw buoy 10 underwater. Okay, the predicted current that day was 3 knots. 7 knot difference in the run out. And I was making on a big ship that would normally do 13, I was making 2 over the ground and had to make that turn off buoy 14 with 2 knots over the ground. And one of my partners called me up. He was driving in. He lives up here on the hill. And he called me up and said, "Are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm fine." "Why?" He said, "You don't look like you're moving." Like, he's trying to politely ask me if I'm aground. And I said, "Well, this is one of those days where it's, hey, there's buoy 12. Hey, there's buoy 12. Buoy 12 just went by. Half an hour later, buoy 14. We're making progress." But it really can change, and there's no way to predict how much they're going to dump. There isn't. But if you look at those things that Steve was talking about, you see the current arrows on the AIS stuff? Click on those. Those will give you a good idea. Low water does not mean slack water. High water does not mean slack water. So, and you have to, it varies up to an hour, hour and a half, depending on where you are, whether you're out there on the bar or whether you're up at Tongue Point.
In the summertime, if I give myself an extra hour.
That's a pretty good estimate. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we call you when we're coming back in to find out
We may not be on the bar. The Coast Guard will always be there and answer. They send their 47-footers out there, and they go out and they play out in the middle grounds and the outer grounds, and they'll know. So you call them, ask for a report. They'll tell you what they found with the boats actually out there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so just call them on 16 or 22.
Yeah, Cape D does it, or Sector Columbia River. Both of them. Okay, but Cape D is the one that gives you the actual bar report. And they've been out there, and I'll tell you what, we'll be out there at daybreak. I think they send their guys out about 7:30. Somebody in the Coast Guard correct me on that, but about 7:30, because the old man back there wants a report when he comes into the office with his morning coffee. And a lot of times they'll check with us because we've already been in. When the bar's been closed and we're opening back up again, if I'm number 1 pilot, operations pilot, I either do a flyover or go out in the boat and put eyes on, or maybe do both. Cape Disappointment, Coast Guard Station, this is, no, 16 or 22 alphas. 22 US. Okay. So yeah, either one of those two. And if you call them on 16, they'll tell you to shift to 22. Okay. That's, if you call them on 22, you just saved yourself a step. That's all. And
Eric, here we have something you wanted to point out that you guys might not be aware of. Like Captain Neary said, the Coast Guard sends their boats out. They watch it for a couple hours or an hour or so and play around, they go back in. So they said at 8 o'clock, this was the bar report. So be aware of that, because you may be calling at 12 o'clock and they're going to say, hey, at 8 o'clock it was beautiful. Well, that can change very quickly, as you all know. So be aware of that. Eric, that's a really good point he brought up. Yeah, right.
And another thing is, for us sporties, I mean, these guys are pros, but we're running out there and you'll hear 14 requests for a bar report on 16, and we're tying up the radio. and they're gonna say go to 22 Alpha, whatever. They have a landline. I have the number, and they said please call us rather than tying up 16 and doing that. And they'll give you that updated report. The guys get mad. They're like, hey, you said it was 2 feet. I got out there and it was breaking and sloughing, and listen to the time. Understand what that tide's doing. It's really, don't just go on what they say. You got to understand what's happening.
I'll give you a story. This was my first year on the bar. Actually, my first day working alone on the bar. How fast it can change. I brought a light ship in on a flood tide. It was a day like this. God, it was gorgeous. And I'm going, this job isn't really that tough, you know. 3 hours later, I'm outbound on the ebb. And I'm looking out, I'm coming by buoy 25, and I'm looking up there. All I can see is white all the way across the bar. So one of the other pilots, senior pilot, Captain Johnson's coming in, and I picked up the phone, and I said, Robert, what do we got? He says, 18 and breaking all the way across, good luck. Now, he got on the helicopter, and they came out. I was going so slow by then because all that slows you down. He got on the helicopter and took a picture of my ship, and they used it on the front of the Bar Pilot Tide book because I was doing total cover-ups on this 550-foot stick ship. That's how fast it can change. And I never, just so you know, I did not keep that pair of underwear I threw them away.
So I've got a couple pictures here to kind of illustrate what we're talking about. You know, this is why the bar is the bar. You've got the Columbia River, which is one of the biggest rivers in the U.S., comes all the way from Canada, right? All that flow is coming down, and it's like a garden hose going into a swimming pool. That's what I tell people to think about. When you put your garden hose in the swimming pool, watch the waves that come out of there. That's what this is. You've got a huge garden hose, but the ocean wants to keep coming in, and the swells want to keep coming in. And so that's why it meets up and it humps up right here. Now, you add in summertime, and you got your 25 knots of northwest wind, and you've got your current that sometimes is from here and sometimes it's from here. You don't know. That's up to the vagaries of the low pressure zones that are moving around, and so you're never really sure what's going to be happening. So that's why this gets so roiled up. Is you've got 4 or 5 directions of 4 or 5 different weather patterns going on here, and it, these waves want to come out, or the hose wants to put out, but you've got these big rolling waves. They may be 6 foot, which is nothing for a 45-foot fishing boat. You just go up and down all day long. It's pleasant as heck all out in the ocean, no big deal. Well, when you put that against a current, they'll almost double in size. And they're not really nice rounded waves anymore. They're very steep and they peak. And they come up very short and they're really uncomfortable. And they do tend to break sometimes. So you got to outrun them, or you got to ride in the back of them, or however you guys are doing it these days. But that's the big change that occurs. So this is why it is. The sandbars come out. They're always changing a little bit. They're constantly moving in, moving out. So, and you can see right here, this red, this is where it tends to build up sand. So this is why the dredges are here every summer, and they start here and they work out to here. Here, it's 100 feet deep. Out here, you can see how deep it is. 60, 70, 80 feet deep out here. Right here, it'll start shelling up into the 40s. And so that's another reason why you have waves right here. They come in, they hit that shallow zone, and it peaks them up right there too. So this is traditionally, see, I didn't touch it. No, it went to sleep, sorry. Got it. That's our life right there. It just goes away. But this is right in this area right here. This is absolutely the worst area for us to maneuver in any kind of weather. Once we get out here, we might be slow, but it's really wide. In here, it's just the current that we're dealing with. But right here, we've got swell, wind, current, everything. So when you guys are coming in and out, we're trying to herd 700-foot ship that's got 43 feet underneath us. And we're trying to get out this channel, so that's why we can kind of get a little testy once in a while if we're trying to bring the ship out, and there's boats going everywhere, and towboats going everywhere, and nobody's talking to anybody, and you just got to kind of point. So that's the reason why the bar is the bar. Here's kind of this is a wave height on a normal winter day. And you can see here, the red, these are the higher waves, 4 meters, 5 meters. So those are 18, 19, 20 foot waves, and this is how it all kind of projects out. So here's the jetty, here's the north jetty, and here's how they come out like this. And so now put those waves out, again, wind, currents, and that's kind of the flow, and you can see how those waves start to work and how far off this comes. You'll see that. Well, right here, this is a great shot. So this is 11 miles from the mouth of the river. I don't know if you guys can see it. Here's the north jetty, here's the south jetty. Out 11 miles. This is the plume of water and the interaction that occurs out there. So you guys go out, hey, it's not too bad, right? You get out here, all of a sudden there's these weird waves, and you'll see the color change, you'll see the salinity change, you'll see all that. Well, this is the river running out and how it works, okay? So on really nasty days out there, which can happen in summer, easily enough, we have to get off the ship, and you can see how it keeps running out here from that previous slide as well, that red cone that comes out straight. You'll see us work down here. All right, so if the rougher it is, the more wind there is, you'll see the ships that come down, and sometimes they turn all the way around like this. Last night, middle of June, I had to come to 160 degrees to get off the ship, to get out of the swell coming down the side of the ship and the ship rolling back and forth. So this is an area, here's the buoy line, it'll come straight down here. Sea buoys out here somewhere. You'll see ships in here, and you'll see ships out to here. The other thing that happens is the wind, right? Northwest winds in the summer. So you'll see the ships, and we have to face into the wind for the helicopter. Because the helicopter needs air across it just like a normal airplane. And yes, they can hover, but they need to have wind across the wing. So we turn the ships up into the wind to get out here. So this is why communication is so important. Because you don't know where we're going. We might talk to a helicopter, we might talk to the phone, we might be going this way, or we might be going this way. So really, nobody's ever going to get mad at you guys for calling us. We'll always be really happy when somebody says, hey, what's that big ship doing? Listen for that. We're listening for you guys to talk to us.
If you get an I don't know, get out of the way.
I'll get back to you. Yes, sir.
Do you guys listen to Channel 16 as well?
Yes, we always monitor. Usually, every ship has, as a requirement, 2 VHF radios working on the bridge. We listen to 16 and 13. So those are the ones we monitor all the way out. When the helicopter leaves land and is on its way out, it's about 8-10 minutes out. We'll switch to Channel 9 so we can talk to the helicopter on Channel 9. Channel 13 is river traffic and bar traffic. That's what all commercial traffic is on that one. 16, of course, is international. Everybody keeps the radio on 16. So we listen to those. But when the helicopters come in, we get on 9, so we're not talking while other people are trying to communicate or set up meeting situations with other boats or stuff like that. So those are the 3 channels we work with. If you get us on 16 and 13, you'll find us there.
Places of refuge if you're outside the park.
What's that?
Places of refuge if somebody's outside and the park's closed.
Okay, the question was, where can you go if you're outside? The best thing to do, the waves out there are normally well-rounded. Find yourself a good speed. Ride up, ride back down. It's not going to be comfortable, but if you can put the seas about 30 degrees on either your port or starboard bow, and I would, use your wind. You don't want to put yourself in irons with the wind. And just maintain enough for steerage way and ride up and down. You'll be like a cork out there. You will, most of the time, I will never say all the time, but you will most of the time keep yourself out of trouble. And all you can do is ride it out. If you're starting in, Steve had that thing like here with the wind coming in. Back up about 2 if you can, Steve. Okay. No, they can see me. Okay, you got the, I'm not that short. You got the wind coming in here. I'll tell you I will do this, and I've done it before. If you guys find yourself in trouble and that wind is kicking your butt and you're trying to get in the channel and I'm inbound with a deep draft, I will tell you to come up tight on my starboard side, and I'll make a lee for you. And you got to run slow enough so that you can stay with me. If you want to outrun me, you're on your own, partner. Just don't get under the bow. But if you want to stay there, I will make a lee for you. I don't care. You can get in there as long as you don't hamper my maneuvering. You can come in there and ride that lee all the way into buoy 14. Keep yourself out of trouble. And I don't know any bar pilot who's going to see you come in like that and tell you to get the hell out of the way. Okay.
That's awesome. We might charge you rent.
Yeah.
We take tuna and salmon and pay them.
Yeah. Or you know, a good quart of Irish whiskey will work also.
That's a good point. Well, actually, you can see it right here. So this is just a kind of a model of the current as it runs. So the bigger the arrow, the stronger the current. So you can see this will go through a tide change. You can see here all the circulations that it goes through. This affects us a tremendous amount. You guys are going to be affected by it too, but our whole vessel on an outbound loaded ship is underwater. And so the effect of the current on us is a lot. So you can see, yeah, be a sleigh ride. But you can see how that affects it. Now, Eric brought up a point. He said, where can you go hide? You know, if it's a big storm, I think Captain Kurt, we send the ships out to 20 miles. And we say go out to 20 miles because you get out of the river effect then. And you'll be out into ocean swell and ocean weather. Now, there is an area down here. This is pretty good water down here. We can take ships in here. It's pretty deep. You can go down here out of the northwest and tuck in down here. And on a nice, sunny, windy day, this is actually really nice down here. It's quite calm. So if you're coming in, miss the tide, it's running out, it's white caps breaking us 10 feet, you don't want to come in, this is a good area to come to the south on a northwest summer day.
Right.
Get out of the
and on a southwesterly day, if you can get up on the other side of the jetty, that's another place you can ride out.
And you got a low pressure that's come through and it's bringing the winds out of the south, and same thing up here. The jetties will protect you a little bit. Just watch out for the sets and the waves that will carry you.
You still have to be on the ball. You can't just say, okay, I'm in behind the jetty and I'm safe, because you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's where Captain Kurt was talking about the currents. We kind of look at these buoys, and you guys have all seen them up close and how big they are. This is a 6-knot current, and we usually say once the big float down here that all the sea lions are on, once that goes underwater, you're going over 6 knots. And then as they pick up, it'll go more and more underwater. I've got some pictures of a buoy up here like this. All you can see is this, and this is in the river. This is buoy 2022 right here. This is in the river, and they'll go all the way under. When you get down to the bar and you put the waves on them, that's what affects them like that. So this is something that we use. It would probably be, I'm sure you guys may do that or do that, but just keep it in mind. You know, watch for systems coming in, changes in weather patterns when you're going to go out. I don't know if you guys go out overnight or stuff like that. They can change pretty quick. So watch out for that. Watch the wind speed, watch the currents. You know, these are just the basics, but we have this. We pay attention to this too. He's been doing it for 15 years. There's guys that have been doing it for 30 years. They still sit down, we still go over the same format because it's so applicable to what you guys are doing. The Nanu's guy checked on this, or touched on all this. There's a buoy that's just inside buoy number 2. It's hard to see. It's a little yellow buoy. It's called the C-Dip. You can go on to the National Data Buoy Center, which is a Coast Guard, NOAA site? Coast Guard site.
Coast Guard site. NOAA. Well, it's on our website.
Yeah, and it's on our website too. But this is inside on the bar at buoy 2. Okay, so this is a good one to look at, and then this is. I think this is 29. 25. It's 25. Okay. We use 029. offshore. And that's how we set it up. So 20 miles offshore, the wind pattern, that weather pattern will be there in a couple hours at the most.
And then we watch 25.
Yeah, then there's more out there further, but use them. They're very accurate, and you can get a history. You can see if the wind is going, or the wind and the swells are going up, or if they're on their way back down. So those are good to look at. The one thing to take one note of caution on this one. Yeah. So here it is right here. This is the seed hit buoy. You can see here's buoy 2, buoy 4. Remember that the swells are bigger out here. So when you're making that decision, you look out here and says, oh, shoot, it's only 6 feet. We can handle that no problem. Well, it might be 8-10 feet up here. So keep that in mind that there's a shelter. It kind of shallows up right here, and the swell comes in and it starts to ease off a little bit, and it's calmer down here. So do keep that in mind. It's a great tool, but know what you're looking at when you're looking at it there. Okay?
Hold on a second, Steve. The other thing is this guy here gives you waves only. Okay? The 29 that Steve was talking about, right. 29 gives you the wind speed, will give you all that other data. But the guy inside buoy 2 is waves only.
So you can see these other ones. This one's down off Newport. Weather coming up from the south. That's open and available. This is the next one out. This is about, I think, what do we say, 10 hours out on this one. So the weather here is about 10 hours from the bar. And then this one's even further.
About a day or less.
So you can use those to watch the weather coming in.
And again, if you go on our website and you'll see drop-down links where it says weather. If you see the sea dip, you can pick up the sea dip. That gives you a history of what's been going on there. Of the wave heights, gives you the top 10%. Gives you the whole thing, how much. I mean, you might get a set of 25 and it was the only set in a half an hour. Over here, you're seeing mostly 18, 16, 15 feet. You can see it coming down. And you can click on the individual buoys on, if you go to the buoy drop-down link, and you can click on each one and see what's going on. ColumbiaRiverBarPilots.com. We tried to find a longer name so you could make more screw-ups trying to type it in, but we've been unsuccessful so far. We thought about adding Oregon and Washington to it and spelling it all out.
So this is one of my favorite slides here. This is now this is winter. I don't think what is tuna season for you guys?
July through October.
Okay. October. You can start to see some of this happening. But so here's Hurricane Hugo, right? We all watch this on CNN. Those are nasty. I spent a long time working down in the Gulf on the East Coast and over in the Far East with typhoons. Man, you start to see the circulation. They put a name on it. Everybody starts panicking. Home Depot sold out of water and plywood. Well, look out for Washington and Oregon. This is just a winter storm. It's just like, oh, here comes another low. And so this is how it comes in, and this is what we get up here. We just don't get the notoriety of putting cool names on it. But this is the weather patterns that we do get here.
Steve, we're going to have that for a second. To that, I have a friend of mine that's a New Orleans pilot. And we got talking, and I said, you know, it's not that bad here. And he said, son, y'all work storms that we give names to down home.
So again, here's how you can see that kind of builds up. Now this wave won't be out in the ocean, but when you get into the shallow zones, you're going to start seeing this is what happens to the waves around the bar itself. So this is why you got to pay attention. It's not just that this wave offshore might have been 15 feet. But here it is just completely overrunning the jetty. There's some other ones here. I mean, on this one right here, the whole wave is just going right over the top of those jetties. And you've gone past them, and you know how big those jetties are out there. So those are the weather that we're talking about. For this one, Kurt asked you earlier, do you have an AIS? When you're investing in stuff for your boat, and you want to think about something that's a safety feature, from my professional standpoint, I can't recommend anything more than this. This tells you where other boats are that have it, and it tells me where you are. So when you're out there on a day that's really nasty, and you're in a white 40-foot sailboat or fishing boat, and you got 8 to 10 foot seas, and it's 25 knots of breeze, all I can see is white spots everywhere. And so when you're coming in, I can't see your wake. I can't see you. The radar's not going to pick you up because you're lower than the waves. So I've got to sit there and I'm staring at the radar looking for something that may repeat itself or may not. But if you have an AIS, I can see that you're going to come in here on the Sea Tribute and I see where you're at. You got a name and I can watch you. And that to me is invaluable. Because all of a sudden I see that there's a guy that is exhausted. He's been out there for 2 days fishing. He just wants to get in, and he's going to try and beat the tide. So he's coming hell-bent for leather, trying to get in, and I can watch him. It's not just a white speck, maybe, maybe not. And so they are important. I know they're expensive, and not everybody can have them, but they do work. Plus my name's on there too. You can see that this ship is sitting there waiting to come in. You can call him and say, "What are you doing?" You know, so they're really important. Yeah. One word of caution, another word of caution. So this is the 15-mile ring around Astoria. We will stage ships to wait for us at this area. So if we've got ships coming in or out and we're kind of staging ships, they're going to be sitting out here between 10 and 15 miles, okay? So they're going to be a foreign crew. The language barrier with them may be kind of difficult. Speak slow, ask the Genco Predator, and you may not understand it when he comes back saying Genco Predator, but go back and forth a couple times just to make sure, because when we say, all right, you're next, come in, the blinders go on, they say, thank God we're getting out of the ocean too, and they come straight to the sea buoy, or wherever we tell them to go, and they won't see the small white fishing boat out there in 8, 10 to 10 feet of seas that's the same color as all the breaking whitecaps, and they won't care because they work in China where there'll be 100 fishing boats that won't come up on the radio, and the only way they go through them is right down the middle, and they hope that the boats will get out of their way. So they're going to have that mentality here. It's just the way you have to do it. Don't hate them for it. It works in the rest of the world, but just be aware of that. Okay, so the ship stage here, and they'll come in. When we bring them in, we bring them straight into the sea buoy. Now, I got to throw this in because it's near and dear to my heart. Yes, sir, go ahead.
So a question on the AIS. Is there a problem with the update speed on the AIS?
No.
It's a VHF radio. It's VHF transmitting.
Right. The recreational guy, sometimes only update his transmitter or something like that.
No, it should be on all the time.
No, it should be on all the time.
AIS on, you got to have a whip antenna, and it's a VHF transmission.
Okay, so it's real time.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, if you're using a charting program and you're trying to use the internet, then you'll get delays. So if you're using a navigation software program and you're using the internet to get information, then you'll have internet delays.
If you're using a satellite, you won't.
Right.
Okay. And a lot of these work off of Bluetooth also, so they might work off the same thing as your phone.
Okay, so you want to tap the VHF.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So here you see a dredge. It's out there every summer on the bar. This is the Esseance, it's Army Corps of Engineers. There's usually one other one that's a private contractor that comes and works. You got the Stuyvesant, you got the Bayport, you got the Liberty Island, different dredges. But they work. Go back up here to one of our pictures. They work here. They work down here. They dump sometimes up here. They'll put sand here or out here.
Or they'll go deep.
They go to this one out here. They go out to the sea buoy and up into this corner. And they'll go into these areas too. Now the dredges have American crews on it. They are watching for you guys. They're waiting to talk to you guys too, because they go out, they do strange things. They go out full speed, then they stop and do a circle. And you're like, why is he doing that? And they do the same thing coming in. They're coming in wide open. They hit right here, the brakes go on, and they stop right there dead in the water. You're like, hey, how about some brake lights or something? Well, they're starting to work. They're going to start dredging here, and they're going to be working these areas. So just keep an eye on them. They are on the radio. They do a great job of listening.
One of the things on those guys, when they're working, they're doing couple of knots, knot and a half. Usually they try to stem into the current where they can. And all of a sudden you'll see them, if they talk on the radio and they say they're going to top up, that means they're going to turn around 180 degrees. Okay? So you'll hear the deep sea ships talking to them on 13 all the time. What are you doing? What side do you want us to pass? That's also another clue for you guys. If they're telling me to pass them on their starboard side, and they're telling Steve to pass them on their starboard side, and he's outbound, you're going to have two big ships passing them at the same time, and you may throw a tug and tow in there. So if you have the capability, if it's a good day, to get outside the buoy line, get outside the buoy line, and then there's never a problem. You had a picture up to this one right here. That looks exactly like that one that I was talking about. That I took out. That was my second chip on the bar.
Is that the way you're going for?
Yeah, no, that's good. But the one that had all the contacts, you notice, like the Captain Ryan and some of those are up there. Those are fishing boats. Those are the guys, and you hear them talking, and they'll say, I'm going to be tight on the red line. I'm going to be tight up on the green line. I'm going to cross over because I want to come into Ilwaco. And we will work with you. That's not a problem. As long as you're talking to us, we'll work with you, whatever we can do. Sometimes we can't. We may say, hey, don't try to cross my bow and get across. You may be better to wait till the next ship passes and then go across. But we'll work with you guys. It's the guys that aren't talking to us, and we're just praying that they're going to keep their course and speed, or they're going to not do something stupid. And stupidity kills out there really quick. There was a Captain Ryan was up there. I lost him again. That's okay.
So here's why we tend to get excited when the ships have to move. You can see here's this guy, you know, he's your average 6-foot guy, and he's got to climb up this ladder. Go home sometime and play on your kids' playground and go find a rope ladder and see how fast you can climb it. It moves. It comes off the side of the ship, it goes back in, and it slams it inside the ship. It swings forward, it swings aft, and you've got to go up hand over hand all the way up to the top on these. So we try to set those ships up so that he only has to come off the side of the ship this far. If they start rolling, he'll be off the ship 6, 7, 8 feet. And nobody wants to come flying back in because this part here doesn't move. It's really hard. And so nobody, you know, that's why we'll set them up, and they'll turn and they'll start the maneuver, and that's when the pilot is here, and nobody wants to change. The pilot boat doesn't want you to get in the way, the ship doesn't want you, and I certainly don't want you to get in the way, and they have to go do something else. So just keep that in mind.
And the other thing is on this, if it's a really bad day out there, not even a really bad day, this guy's light. He'll roll on a 10-knot wind on a wet lawn. Go back to that other one again, Steve. Yeah. So, with this thing here, we may have to swing the ship. That ship may be in a constant turn when we actually get off. It's the only way we can get a lee and actually jump. We have maybe a 20 or 30 second window to make that transition from here to there. Okay? Yeah. And you can only climb when the ladder's like this, up against the hull. When it swings back, you're stuck. It's not impossible. There's a couple of young guys that can do it. At 70 years old, I can't climb unless that sucker's up against the hull. Okay, it's just a lot of extra work. And then you got the helicopter.
Yeah, so in the helicopter is much the same. The ship needs to be pointing into the wind to make this work. And then once he goes down, nobody wants to move again. So they're going to be stuck on that course or that maneuver, whatever they're doing when this is going on. And you can recognize that helicopter because it's a big bright yellow one. All right. So kind of to wrap things up, there's a few things that I have as a pleasure boater, power boater, fisherman, sailor, all those things when I take off my bar pilot hat that I've always done. You know, you go to a new area or you're unsure of the area, you look at your chart plotter, right? And you say, okay. And then this guy said you can plot on his thing, you can chart you can put it on your own chart plotter, you can say, okay, I'm going to go from buoy 8 to buoy 2 to the sea buoy, and I'm going to go out to 20 miles out, that's where the water temperature is, that's what I'm doing. So when I come home, I'm going to go to the sea buoy, I'm going to go to buoy 2, and I'm going to go to buoy 8, and that's what you're running. So as a professional mariner, that's great. I'm glad to see you guys are doing that. But know your channel. Look deeper into your GPS unit, and you'll see that actually 20 foot outside of the red buoy, there might be enough water for your boat. So you don't need to really be in that deep water channel. And, you know, there's some areas where you can't, where you want to come inside the channel. We all know where those are at. By all means, we'll expect you to swing in, swing out, whatever. But don't be afraid to say, well, shit, it's 45 feet out there, and it's 45 feet right here. I'll go outside the buoy line. It makes our life a lot easier. And just, you know, look at your plotter program. Don't go exactly from this point to that point. Put it on autopilot, crack a beer, talk about fishing and drive in, because then I don't know what you're doing. So that's one of the big things there is think about that when you're coming in. You don't have to run point to point. You might be able to get outside the channel and have a little bit of extra room. We talked about it, we're on 13 and 16 all the time. Once in a while we're working on channel 9 with a helicopter. If you can't talk on the radio, or if you refuse to talk on the radio and you don't want to do it, follow the rules of the road. Remember the book, it should be in your boat, follow the rules of the road. If you're on the starboard side and you're coming and you're going to go underneath my bow and I can't see you, I'm going to start turning right. I'm going to do whatever I can not to get you. But if you're going to start turning left on me, I don't know what means. We lost the game right there. So remember your rules of the road. They are important, because if we can't talk or something's going on, everybody defaults back to that, back to the basics.
And one thing to remember, if you're clear, if you're coming starboard to starboard, there's no law that says you have to pass port to port. Do not make a fancy move to get to my port side. We're already clear, everybody's happy. I just walked over and got myself another cup of coffee, and now you've decided that even though you were clear on the starboard side, we need to go port to port, and the world just got really brown for everybody. Okay, safe passage. It's a departure from the rules to go starboard to starboard, but there's nothing wrong with doing it. Okay. And again, as long as we're talking on the radio, we'll help you out. Like Steve said, if you don't want to talk, we'll just roll the bones and hope it comes up 7, you know, or 11. Yeah, there is an unwritten law. Steve's talking about your rules of the road. There is an unwritten law. It's called give way to tonnage. Okay, you all do it when you're driving. You see that 18-wheeler with a wide load, you all move over a little bit. Same for us. Just remember, you guys can turn on a dime, we can't. We take about $5 or $6 and we probably won't give you back change.
So you can see, here's a ship. This is probably 500-600 feet long. Look at how much it's moving and coming in and out of the water.
And that's a nice day.
This is not a bad day, but you can see right here, the pilot ladder's right here. It's going to be swinging in and out. If you look at how much that ship is moving, that ladder's going out and in. And so you've got a time when you're going to come from here to here. My wife should not be watching this.
Looks like Torchy.
It's
no,
Valentine.
It's Valentine's Day.
Cross your fingers for this one. No, this was not me.
That's not a bad day at all. That's like 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, if you look out here, it's really not that big. But this is what happens to these ships.
See, he's in ballast. He's light. And remember I said you'll roll on a 10-knot wind in a wet lawn? There he is. You can imagine if that was 20 foot outside, he's now, it will get down when it's 20 feet where I only got to climb 3 rungs. I'll wait for that ladder to come all the way over.
So that ladder now is swung out. So what they're doing right now, they're setting the ship up. They're saying, okay, we're going to come alongside, start your turn. So the pilot boat is timing it. The ship is now coming over on a hard left wheel probably, trying to create a slick, trying to create a lee, and trying to put the ship, trying to make it have motion rather than having to be subject to the ocean. We're trying to force it to do what we want it to do. So all of a sudden it'll calm down, and like Kurt said, you got about 30 seconds before the next set of waves will start making that ship move again.
And the other thing is, if you guys take your boat and make a nice easy turn, you'll see nice calm water on the inside where you're kind of plowing it out. The quick water right in there is what we're working. Okay?
How much you settle down right there? Yes.
So how come you don't do helicopter landings more often?
We use the helicopter about 70% and the boat about 30. Yeah.
But what happens in August on the Columbia River Bar?
Fog.
Low cloud.
Fogust.
So
can't fly.
There's flight rules. So we have to follow standard flight rules, wind rules. Confused seas, it's hard on the helicopter. If they're confused against the wind, because you saw the cranes on this thing. Imagine being in a helicopter and have those cranes doing this at you. Those helicopter pilots get really nervous when all that starts swinging towards them.
So we work about 30% boat just to stay current. And just to make sure that we're still can do this.
See, so they've got to calm down right now. So he's going to go, and this is where people think we're kind of dumb.
No, people are right.
That smart comment he made earlier about being really smart. This is where we bring it into question, because now he's like, okay, no, I can't climb up that high. No, not yet. Okay, this is my shot. I got to go right now. And now the boat falls away and he goes up. And that's actually a pretty good day right there. If it only goes up,
that was a walk in the park.
5 or 6 feet like that, that's not bad at all. It's when, and this has happened, is when you get to here on the ladder and that next really big wave comes up, and now the boat's back here on you again. It's you climbed off and went down 15 feet, and you look back, and now it's right back here again. And you can climb steady the whole time. Yeah, so you can see the cutout right there. They designed the boat so that it can ride up and around the pilot. But, so that's it. We can end on that note. I've said probably enough for you guys. Do you have any questions?
I definitely have. I definitely have said enough. But anybody got any more other questions? No, you can't ask me about your father. Never mind. No.
Nobody knows. What percentage of pleasure boaters talk to you compared to how many?
Very small.
How many should be talking?
Very small. The worst for us is buoy 10, obviously. And it's more because we get people out there. I mean, you guys do this all the time. You go out deep and you're out fishing and you know you live around here and you know what you're doing. Okay? We get these guys, they're from San Diego, they towed their boat up to get into buoy 10 season, and they go, no one's fishing in the middle of that channel. What a great place to go. I won't have anybody around me. Story about buoy 10, I'm coming in on a container ship which was 963 feet long, drawing 43 feet of water, and it had to maintain a minimum of 7 knots so I could steer it. Coming up to Tansy Point, this guy's anchored, dead center in the channel. I pick up the radio, I got 300 boats over here and 300 boats over there, and this guy. Hey, I am not going to kill 300 boats to save one Indian. This is what God calls selection of the dumbest, you know? So I call him and said, partner, you got to move. I got nowhere to go and I got to turn, and he says, I got a fish on. Now, that's going to get to be a really expensive fish. Now, one thing that saved his life was the Sheriff's Department boat comes flying in, cut his line, cut his anchor line, took a round turn, and dragged him out. This guy's screaming, dragged him out of the way. When I went down, I rocked his boat with my bow wake. And I'm trying to make that turn with that 1,000-foot ship right in around there. And I really don't want to hit all those nice people that stayed out of my way. But I had one coming out in the fog. We're talking about August. This guy's motoring out. He's back fixing his poles. And all of a sudden he breaks out of the fog, and there I am on a 750-foot boat carrier drawing 43 feet. And I blew the danger signal at him, and he had 2 ways to turn. Starboard would take him over towards Chinook. Port would take him right into me. Now, how many want to guess which way he went? Port. Turned right into me, broke off the tips of 2 of his poles. Didn't sink them. But, so that's what happens. That's what you got to be careful of. GP.
That brings up a good question.
Yeah.
Why don't you explain what the danger signal is?
Okay, the danger signal is 5 or more short blasts, rapid blasts. So if you hear a ship going deep, 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 try to get out of the way.
Yes.
Okay, I would tell you to turn to starboard, but there's a story about that. Okay, we're same spot. This isn't me. It's another pilot. He's coming out. There's a guy on his port side. He blows a danger signal. He's just come by buoy 21. He's actually out of the channel into the deep water in Baker Bay. The guy turns right into him. He comes over some more and blows a danger signal again, and the guy turns into him. He finally gets clear of him. You've got that shoal spot that's up there, and he doesn't make it. He goes aground. Coast Guard comes in. Everybody comes in. He got the side number of the boat and the name. Okay. They go into the big green table with the ashtray at one end, and I went in with him because he was a friend of mine, and he said, would you be there and kind of hold my hand? I like to have one face that I like in it. And so they asked him what happened. He said, look, I sounded a danger signal, the guy turned right into me. Because I did it 3 times. He said, I just barely missed him, kicked it around, and I didn't have enough room. Captain verified his story. The guy and the Coast Guard officer said, wait a minute. You're going to tell me a guy in a 40-foot pleasure craft kept turning into your ship? He says, so they stopped the hearing. They went and got the guy. They brought him in. They sat him on the window stand. And the pilot looked at me, and he said, the Coast Guard knew when they asked him the first question, and he said, I did just what you guys told me to do. And the Coast Guard officer said, what do you mean what we told you to do? He says, I took your safety course, and it said when they sound the danger signal, turn right. He said there was a 700-foot ship there. He said, you guys said they sound the danger signal, turn right. He sounded it 3 times, I turned right 3 times.
You can't fix stupid.
No, you can't. No.
We've been trying for years.
But the best thing is if you can cross the stern of us, cross the stern. If you hear the danger signal, that means we're trying to get as close to the edge of the channel as you can. That's the safest thing you can do. We will, if I'm meeting Steve coming in, and he's on a deep draft, and I'm outbound on a deep draft, buoy 21, I'm headed for Baker Bay, as far over as I can get. That's deep water there, and it helps me out. But that's really the only places we're going to get out of that buoy channel. But from buoy 22 to 26, remember 26 is up against the shore. So we may run up in there. We'll give you guys all the room we can. That's all I can tell you. If I'm the only one out there and I see you guys are out there, I'm going to be center channel. And you'll hear me say that on the radio. Hey, I'm going to take the center channel. You guys have the sides. Have at it. Any other questions?
All right, we got to get going here.
Yep.
Hey, let's give these
Thank you guys.
That was awesome.
Good job.
So you guys going to be hanging around a little bit, or?
I gotta go play in my garden.
Oh, you gotta go gardening? Okay. But hey, good information. Talking to the guys that do this.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, take care, Chad.
Hey, and when they were talking about running the red or green line,
you're welcome. Yeah.
Steal mine from the red line. Between that and the South Jetty can be really, really good water, and it's a good, safe place to run. South of red line, you're out of the channel, you know you are, especially on a foggy day. Hey, thank you very much. So remember.
Oh yeah.
Deep enough. You can get down like that, some spin, which is about 30.